You ever look at your life and wonder, is this really everything I'm capable of? That question haunts people because deep down they know the truth. You're not meant to be average. You were not born to simply survive, pay bills, and disappear. Every man feels that fire inside, that tension, that restlessness. It's the universe reminding you that you're capable of more. But the world around you tries to convince you to sit down, calm down, blend in, and accept a life beneath your potential. People fear ambition. They fear discipline. They fear the man who decides he won't live like everyone else. But look at history. Look at the stories in books like The Alchemist or Man's Search for Meaning. The men who changed their lives weren't born different. They became different. They built themselves day by day, choice by choice, hardship by hardship. Average is not a destiny, it's a decision. Most people choose comfort because comfort is easy. Comfort tells you to sleep in, to skip the gym, to stay quiet when you should speak, to settle for less than you deserve. But comfort kills dreams. It destroys potential. And if you're honest, the moments you're proudest of in life never came from comfort. They came from struggle. They came from doing the thing you didn't want to do when you didn't feel like doing it. That's how real men separate themselves. Ask yourself, when you wake up in the morning, are you guided by your weaknesses or your standards? Because your habits are writing your future without asking for your permission. Every time you choose discipline, you're voting for the man you want to become. And every time you choose excuses, you're voting for the man you're afraid of becoming. It's that simple. The world respects results. It doesn't care what you went through. It doesn't care how tired you are. It doesn't care about your excuses. And that's a good thing, because results are the one thing that prove who you truly are. When you decide you won't accept mediocrity, you become dangerous. Not in a harmful way, but in a powerful way. A man with direction is a force of nature. A man with discipline is unstoppable. A man who refuses to be average becomes an example others can't ignore. And yes, it's hard. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it requires sacrifices. But what's the alternative? A life of regret. A life where you wake up one day and realize you wasted your strength, your youth, your mind, your ambition because you chose to be like everyone else. That's the real pain. That's the pain that never leaves you. The truth is simple. You have greatness inside you, but greatness doesn't reveal itself to the lazy. It appears to the relentless. It appears to the man who takes control of his mind, his actions, his environment. It appears to the man who decides every day that he will not settle. You're not meant to be average. And the moment you accept that, the world opens up in ways you never imagined. Because excellence isn't genetic. It's earned. And the journey starts the second you refuse to be anything less than extraordinary. You ever stop in the middle of your day, look around at your life, and quietly ask yourself, why does this feel too small for me? That feeling isn't arrogance. It's not delusion. It's the truth trying to break through the noise. Every man carries a sense that he's built for more, that something inside him is restless because it refuses to accept mediocrity. And the problem is, most people ignore that voice. They drown it with distractions, entertainment, and comfort because facing it requires real effort. It requires honesty. It requires responsibility. But here's the reality. If you don't confront that voice, if you don't answer it, your entire life becomes a slow, quiet regret. The reason most men stay average isn't because they lack potential. It's because they've never learned how to convert pain into power. They feel discomfort and think it's a reason to stop. But discomfort is the signal. It's the indicator that you're entering the territory where transformation happens. Every powerful man you've ever admired, from the characters in The Alchemist to the men who clawed their way out of rock bottom, learned how to use discomfort as fuel. They didn't pray for an easier life. They built themselves to become stronger men. Strength isn't inherited. It's constructed, hammered, tested, and earned through relentless repetition of difficult choices. People lie to themselves about why they're not improving. They blame circumstances, timing, childhood, environment, everything except the one thing that actually matters, their decisions. The truth is, the gap between the man you are and the man you want to be is filled with choices you avoid. Choices like waking up when you don't want to, saying no to pleasure when discipline is needed, walking away from people who drain your strength, or pushing forward when your mind is screaming to quit. Those moments shape your character. Those moments define your trajectory. But you don't notice the change right away, and that's why so many people give up. They're addicted to immediate results and blind to the fact that greatness is built slowly. Average men chase quick dopamine. Great men chase long-term identity. Average men want applause. Great men want mastery. Average men look at a challenge and say, this is too hard. Great men say, this is exactly why I must do it. It's not about ego. It's about self-respect. You earn respect for yourself only when you consistently choose the harder path. That's when you look in the mirror and recognize the man staring back. That's when doubt fades and confidence grows. That's when you stop breaking promises to yourself. And understand this, the world does not reward the average. It never has. It rewards the exceptional, the disciplined, the resilient. Not because they're lucky, but because they refuse to accept the narrative that they were meant to be like everyone else. You rise the moment you decide you will not live a life that insults your own potential. In every man's life, there comes a moment where he realizes that excuses are nothing more than chains he willingly puts on himself. And from that moment forward, he either removes them or remains a prisoner forever. You ever wonder why so many people talk about success but never touch it? It's because they wait for the world to hand them permission. They wait for motivation, for confidence, for some magical moment where everything suddenly makes sense. But life doesn't work like that. Life rewards the man who moves first, who acts before he feels ready, who builds momentum even when his mind tries to hold him back. The second you understand that action creates motivation, not the other way around, you stop living like everyone else and start living like the man you're supposed to become. Most people think they need to believe in themselves before they take action, but belief is built from evidence. And evidence comes from doing the things you told yourself you would do. You build confidence by keeping promises to yourself, not by listening to motivational quotes every time you do the thing you don't want to do. Whether it's training when you're tired, working when you're uninspired, or studying when your mind is restless, you lay another brick in the foundation of your character. That's how strong men are built. Not through emotion, through consistency. Discipline is not about loving the grind. It's about understanding that your feelings do not decide your future. Your actions do. Weak men let their emotions dictate their decisions. Strong men let their principles dictate their path. If you live based on how you feel, you'll be average forever because feelings are unstable. Feelings change. Feelings fade. But standards stay. Standards elevate you whether you're motivated or not. Standards pull you forward when your mind tries to drag you back. Look at men who dominate in any field: business, sports, fitness, leadership. They didn't get there by waiting for passion. They built passion by becoming competent. Competence turns into confidence, and confidence turns into control. The man who controls his actions controls his destiny. And the man who controls his destiny becomes someone the world cannot ignore. That's why discipline isn't just a habit. It's the highest form of self-respect. When you live with discipline, you're proving to yourself that you deserve a better life. The reason most people never rise is because they worship comfort. Comfort feels good now, but destroys you later. Discipline feels hard now, but transforms you later. The difference between average men and exceptional men is simple. Exceptional men choose the pain that leads to progress instead of the comfort that leads to regret. They understand that every day is a chance to cast a vote for the man they want to be, and every workout, every focused hour, every sacrifice is a declaration of strength. The truth is brutal but freeing. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to push you. No one is coming to force you to evolve. Everything you want begins the moment you accept full responsibility for where you are and full responsibility for where you're going. Because once you stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating it, you become unstoppable. You ever notice how the moment you decide to improve your life, the world suddenly tests you? The second you choose to rise, everything becomes heavier. Your responsibilities, your doubts, even the people around you. That's not a sign to quit. That's the universe checking if you're serious. Every man who rises must go through resistance, because resistance is what builds the strength you'll need for the life you're trying to create. Weak men think hardship means they're on the wrong path. Strong men understand hardship means they're finally on the right one. Most people collapse the moment things get difficult because they never learned how to endure temporary pain for permanent growth. They expect progress to feel comfortable, smooth, and predictable. But growth has always been violent. It tears apart old habits, destroys outdated beliefs, and forces you to confront the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. That's why most men run from growth. They don't fear failure. They fear responsibility. They fear becoming the version of themselves they secretly know they're capable of, because that version requires discipline, sacrifice, and accountability. Think about your life. Every great moment you've ever had came after a period of struggle. After heartbreak, after loss, after pressure. You learn more from your pain than from any easy day. Struggle teaches you what you're made of. It reveals your weaknesses, but it also reveals your potential. And once you understand that pain is a teacher, not an enemy, everything changes. You stop avoiding it. You start using it. You start seeing challenges as opportunities to sharpen yourself instead of obstacles meant to stop you. Strong men don't run from difficulty. They run toward it. They know pressure creates diamonds. And the only way to become unbreakable is to be tested. When you avoid struggle, you avoid growth. When you avoid fear, you avoid evolution. When you avoid discomfort, you avoid the life you're capable of living. And that's why average men stay average. They spend their whole lives escaping the very things that would have made them great. Every time you overcome something, whether it's a physical challenge, a mental battle, or a personal setback, you gain something far more valuable than comfort. You gain resilience, you gain clarity, you gain confidence that isn't borrowed from motivational words or temporary hype, but earned from experience. That type of confidence can't be shaken. It can't be questioned. It becomes a part of you. The world respects the man who has walked through fire and kept moving. The world listens to the man who has scars because scars prove strength. You cannot intimidate a man who has already been through the worst and refused to break. That's why embracing struggle is not optional. It's essential. The more you face, the more you conquer, the more the universe opens doors for you that average men will never see. You ever think about how easily people waste their potential because they surround themselves with the wrong influences? It's almost unbelievable how many men sabotage their own future simply by keeping company with people who have no vision, no hunger, no fire. You can't rise while standing in circles built to keep you at the same level. Average men spend their entire lives trapped by the opinions of people who aren't going anywhere. Strong men understand that environment is not just important, it's everything. You become what you're around. Your standards, your ambition, your confidence, even your discipline are shaped by the energy of the people closest to you. Look at your circle. Who actually pushes you? Who demands more from you? Who challenges your laziness, your excuses, your weak habits? Most people are surrounded by individuals who make mediocrity normal. They spend time with friends who encourage procrastination, celebrate distraction, and mock ambition because ambition exposes their own lack of progress. If you want to elevate your life, you must have the courage to step away from the crowd. Greatness has always been a lonely road at the beginning. Not because you're meant to be alone forever, but because you must separate yourself from weak minds long enough to strengthen your own. You can't complain about being stuck if you're choosing to stay around people who love staying stuck. You can't talk about success while wasting your time with those who have no intention of changing. A man who wants to rise must be willing to let go of friendships, habits, environments, and sometimes even entire lifestyles. That's the price of evolution. Every powerful man in history, every great figure you read about in books, had a moment where he stepped away from comfort and surrounded himself with new influences. They understood that you cannot build a superior life while living in a mediocre atmosphere. When you finally choose to elevate your environment, everything inside you begins to shift. Your standards rise, your thinking sharpens, your goals become clearer. You start feeling uncomfortable when you're wasting time because you're no longer influenced by people who normalize failure. That's when real transformation begins. When you place yourself in spaces where excellence is the minimum, not the exception. Being around disciplined people forces you to level up. Being around focused people exposes your excuses. Being around successful people eliminates the lies you tell yourself. And here's the truth most men don't want to accept. The people you surround yourself with will either pull you forward or drag you down. There is no neutral. Every conversation you have, every weekend you spend, every person you give your time to is either building you or draining you. That's why the strongest men protect their environment the way a warrior protects his armor. They know their surroundings can either sharpen them or weaken them. They know they must stay around pressure, ambition, and purpose if they want to become unstoppable. A man becomes exceptional not just by what he does, but by who he chooses to allow into his world. When you fix your environment, you fix your mindset. When you fix your mindset, you fix your habits. And when you fix your habits, you fix your entire destiny. You ever sit alone at night and feel that quiet pressure in your chest? The pressure that reminds you you're not living at your full potential? That feeling isn't anxiety. It's your conscience calling you out. Every man knows deep inside when he's holding back, when he's playing small, when he's letting life pass by while he keeps telling himself, I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow is the biggest lie men tell themselves. Tomorrow becomes weeks, weeks become months, and suddenly years are gone. Not because you lacked ability, but because you lacked urgency. Greatness doesn't come to the man who waits. It comes to the man who acts. People don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they hesitate. They hesitate to start the business. They hesitate to cut off distractions. They hesitate to pursue goals that intimidate them. And while they're hesitating, someone else with half their talent but twice their hunger is taking action. Life does not reward potential. Life rewards execution. The world is full of talented men who never made it because they believed time was on their side. But time is ruthless. It doesn't pause. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care about your dreams. The only way to beat time is to take action before it steals your chances. Think about everything you desire, the body, the money, the respect, the status, the confidence. None of it is impossible. None of it is out of reach. What makes it seem difficult is the story you tell yourself about how long it'll take. But the truth is, transformation happens faster than you think once you commit. Not kind of, not I'll try, but absolute commitment. The kind of commitment where you eliminate excuses, eliminate laziness, and eliminate every mindset that keeps you comfortable. You will be shocked by how quickly your life reshapes itself the moment you decide to live with intensity instead of hesitation. Every day you wake up, you have two identities fighting inside you, the man you are and the man you're capable of becoming. The man you are wants comfort, predictability, safety. The man you're capable of becoming wants challenge, pressure, and growth. Your life will always reflect the identity you choose more often. And what most men don't realize is this: small decisions shape identity. Waking up on time shapes identity. Training when you're tired shapes identity. Choosing discipline over pleasure shapes identity. When these decisions stack up, they create a version of you that most people will never recognize because they never had the courage to choose that version for themselves. Urgency is power. When you move with urgency, life bends for you. Opportunities appear. Progress accelerates. You start experiencing momentum, and momentum is the one thing average men never feel. They spend their lives starting and stopping, never moving long enough in one direction to taste the rewards. But once you catch momentum, you become unstoppable. You become the man who does in 6 months what others fail to do in 6 years. The truth most people avoid is simple. Your life isn't waiting to change. It's waiting for you to change. The breakthrough you want isn't somewhere in the future. It's in the decision you keep postponing. The moment you stop moving like you have unlimited time, you start living like a man who understands his value. And when a man finally understands his value, average becomes impossible for him. You ever realize how many men are walking around with dreams they'll never touch because they're terrified of being judged, the fear of looking stupid, the fear of failing publicly, the fear of being talked about behind their backs? It paralyzes them. They shrink their goals to fit the opinions of people who aren't even living their own dreams. They avoid risks because someone might laugh. They avoid ambition because someone might criticize. But here's the reality. If judgment scares you, you've already lost. Every powerful man, every successful figure, every icon you've ever admired became great because they stopped caring about approval and started caring about purpose. People will judge you whether you stay weak or become strong. They'll judge you whether you try or whether you quit. They'll judge you whether you stay broke or become successful. So why let their opinions decide your life? A man who fears judgment is a man in chains. The world controls him. The voices around him control him. And a man controlled by others will never discover who he truly is. But the moment you stop living for the approval of the crowd, you become dangerous. You become free. You become someone who acts with clarity because your decisions aren't influenced by insecurity. They influenced by who you want to become. Most people who judge you aren't doing better than you. They're just louder. Their criticism is nothing more than a reflection of their own fears. They mock what they can't achieve. They laugh at what they're too afraid to attempt. They talk down on ambition because ambition exposes their comfort. And once you understand this, their words become irrelevant. A lion is never bothered by the opinion of sheep. A focused man has no time to pay attention to people who aren't even chasing their own potential. Look at the men who changed the world. The inventors, the leaders, the thinkers, the creators. They were ridiculed before they were respected. They were doubted before they were celebrated. They were misunderstood before they were admired. And they kept going anyway. They didn't let fear stop them. They didn't let criticism silence them. They didn't let judgment weaken them. They used it. They let it sharpen their resolve. They let it feed their discipline. They let it push them further into the path that average men avoid. When you finally stop trying to be liked, you gain something far more valuable: authenticity. You start making decisions based on strength, not insecurity. You choose habits that reflect your goals. You carry yourself with purpose, and people can feel that. Respect doesn't come from trying to please everyone. Respect comes from standing firm in who you are and where you're going. The truth is simple. The world is always going to talk, but their words don't pay your bills. Their approval doesn't build your future. Their opinions won't make you strong, disciplined, or successful. The only thing that will build your life is the courage to keep moving forward despite everything they say. And the moment you stop fearing judgment, you become unstoppable because nothing outside of you has the power to break you anymore. When you step back and look at everything we've covered, the message becomes undeniable. Your life is shaped by your choices, your discipline, your environment, your urgency, your resilience, and your refusal to bow to judgment. Every part of you that feels restless, hungry, unsatisfied, that's not weakness. That's the truth reminding you that you were never designed to live an average life. You were built for pressure, built for growth, built for purpose. And the moment you decide to act like the man you're capable of becoming, everything around you begins to shift. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need approval to evolve. You don't need perfect timing to begin. What you need is the courage to step into the life that's been waiting for you. The life that requires discipline, sacrifice, and strength, but rewards you with a level of greatness average men will never understand. The world doesn't change for the man who avoids challenges. It changes for the man who faces them head on. So let this be the turning point. The moment where you stop living like you have unlimited time and start living like your future depends on what you do next, because it does. And once you choose growth over comfort, purpose over excuses, and excellence over mediocrity, you become the man you were meant to be all along: unstoppable, unshakable, and undeniably above average.